The demon king, Ares, had been killed and their nation was in ruins as well. As a result, the remaining demons perished beneath the artificial sun. But it was still a win for the ones who stayed human. Not that the humans' victory would have stayed the gears of fate on their race down to oblivion. The chief noticed a young boy explaining to other officers about the houses, and after investigations, he went there only for us. Also, it was indeed true that there were nice properly built huts which, if given proper facelift, they will be good habitat. The little boy was happy they could all rest now. But the chief told him there was still a lot more resting to do before they could go back to their gardens. The chief then asked another young boy named Aiden to take a look around based on what the first boy had said. Aiden replied that there were so many things available that he thought they must get enough food there. Their aim was to plan everything so they could set up the country again and make order. To achieve that, they needed a leader, such as the chief. In fact, the chief was surprised when the boy mentioned him as a leader. A small boy was later seen holding a flower in his hand, which suddenly erupted into a purple furnace. Everyone was shocked, and before they knew it, the explosion killed many people. Not long after, the young boy who knew the chief arrived on a bus, as he was not around when the incident happened. He quickly went to check the corpses on the ground and was shocked to see the chief's muffler. He saw that no one was exempted from dying. Thereafter, a human-like demon emerged suddenly, asking the king to swallow him up and make him a second advent as he praised the king. This demon knew how the king transcended the universe and believed only the king could see the right world. He begged for the king's help to deliver him from terrible anguish. While he was asking for help, he suddenly heard a voice calling someone's name, Lucy, to come back, telling her that everything was returning to normal. The person calling was a small girl who did not heed the call at all. The human-like demon looked back and saw that the girl was already gone. This made him remember why he classified them as history's worst lowly creatures, which he hated. The young boy from earlier, who was with the chief from the beginning, was still sitting down, thinking of what to do, even though he knew it was the end as there were no more revelations. It dawned on him that the eternal night was coming and nothing could stop it. He regretted summoning the monster to the world, knowing it would grow after consuming their world. The guy chasing after the small girl, Lucy, eventually caught her. The girl did not want to follow him and began shedding tears, which formed a young man. In the beginning, the world was only filled with teeth. But one fateful day, there was a whisper of one word, balance, and that was how our main character, NC, came into existence. She appeared in the form of a lightning body. The small girl from earlier was seen again, as the young man had already caught her and brought her into the house. The young man, known as Doctor, was asking her where she had been since he had not seen the other guys and was worried about their well-being and why they had not come back yet. Doctor was worried because he doubted if they were still alive. He was thinking about what he would tell Rana when he came back. Meanwhile, the girl was sorry that she could not be of any help. Even though she was sober, she started crying because she could not protect Professor Miana and Lucy, whom the doctor was looking for. However, the doctor was thankful that the small girl had done all she could to survive. The young boy was later seen again on someone's shoulder. He did not know what was wrong with him and thought he was dead until the man dropped him off his shoulder, and he realized he was still alive. However, he then realized that the man actually wanted to burn him to death by dropping him under sunlight. The boy held the man's leg to prevent him from leaving. The man calmed him down, saying he could not die yet, as he had twisted the young boy's space a little with his own power. The man then asked him when was the last time he saw sunlight, knowing that there are memories in sunlight. The boy asked the man why he did something like that for him instead of killing him, remembering that they were enemies. However, the boy suspected that the man might be plotting something, so he told him to knock it off because he did not feel like dealing with the man and his associates. The boy made the man understand that nothing would happen if the man killed him right there. The man actually wanted to ask the boy for a favor, and if the boy did not reply, he still would not kill him. Although the man was not sure how well he could control the boy's space when they were far apart, he left. The boy felt like nothing would happen even if the man left him. Unfortunately for him, he was carried away by another man. He realized he had been duped. This new man told him that he would change demons back into humans by any means and let the boy know that it was not too late to take his life at that time. Thereafter, he was thrown into the midst of some young boys and girls lying on the floor. There, he saw a man whom he thought had died but noticed that blood was still flowing in him. The man in dark glasses who carried the boy away was seen driving recklessly on the road. But he stopped the car all of a sudden, as he noticed everywhere seemed dark, so he tried to observe the surroundings and detected that there was ash all over the ground. Then, the young guy from earlier who was asking a boy for a favor was seen again as he asked the man in dark glasses to follow him. But then the man replied that he cannot drive anymore due to the low visibility caused by the ash. Therefore, he is going to need the young guy's help. The man then asked if the guy was close to the military guys, as he had no idea of what was going on right then, because he could see some bodies lying lifeless on the floor. Although the man was under Aries for a long time, he claimed to know nothing. All the while he was talking, he expected the young guy to reply to him, but he did not get any response, and that made him check if the guy was still in the bus with him. To his utmost surprise, the guy had fallen down, and that shocked the man because he did not know how that happened. He quickly rushed to him to check if he is fine, but the guy addressed the man by his name, White, telling him to wake him up if he fell asleep, because there is not much time for them. The guy eventually fell asleep and White tried to wake him up, but he did not wake up. That made White think of different things that might have happened to the guy. He still kept on trying, and later on, he began shouting close to the guy's head. Maybe he would wake up, and he eventually woke up due to the loud noise White made. Then White asked him why he fell asleep so easily, but he did not reply. Rather, he only told White that Aries is dead, and White wanted to ask for more details about how it happened, as it seemed that was what the guy sent to check when he fell asleep. But the guy told White not to ask him for any details, as his heart was not in a good state right then. However, White was even happy that King Aries was dead, as he could remember how days under him were hell, so he told the guy, whom he called Shay, that it is better as Aries eventually died. Even what White said about Aries was true, as Shay confirmed it, but White did not believe him, as he was unsure that Shay could think that way. He then let Shay know about how much Aries hated him, as Aries has always tried to look for any way he might take to surpass Shay or how he can kill him. Therefore, White asked Shay to forget about Aries, as he was a real bad guy. Shay, listening to all what White was telling him, he could see that it seemed White was comforting him, but White actually meant that he should forget about the bitter mistakes he has made in the past with Aries, and instead they should move on. As White still saw that Shay was sober, he then asked Shay to let them leave, since it was Shay that said earlier that they did not have much time. The human-like demon appeared again, in front of a bright light, asking a man, Luciel, to reveal his real form, as he knew how Luciel had twisted Michael's noble sacrifice and also stole a soul's life. Therefore, he told Luciel that he would receive the wages of all the sins he has committed. But Luciel rejected it, letting the human-like demon, who happened to be his father, that he does not fear his father anymore. Luciel then explained how that world they are in was of great existences, exhibiting both light and dark, that one can even call the home of Lord Dark Lessa. However, he made it known to his father he cannot actually stop his father from sending him there. Instead, it happened to be what he was hoping for. Then he started fighting with his father, as they both used striking light, but Luciel added dark power to fight his father, which worked at a point, as it pushed his father back a bit. He himself could even feel the great dark power, as it just destroyed hundreds of billions of galaxies, whereby he hoped his father's world was among them. While fighting, he made his father understand that his father has made an idiotic choice, as he could see that his father can trade hundreds of millions of worlds and allow their energies to be destroyed in exchange for the world. But then he reminded his father he is still his father's creation, which is a partnership between light and dark, and therefore he would make his father pay for the price. However, his father did not understand why Luciel loathed his world, and he replied that the world his father made can never become eternal, as the balance has started to shift. Thereby, his father's world would soon be placed on the scales of destruction. What Luciel said made his father also prepare his mind to put his life on the other side of the scales. In a forest, a young guy was seen wandering around the forest, as he did not know how he got there, because he could not remember anything. Just then, he saw a man wearing a hat, sitting on the ground in the forest, and he easy to ask the man for help, telling him how he had lost his way. The man did not even respond to him. Instead, he stood up and asked the guy who lost his way if he could help him plant some trees. When the man asked the guy this question, the guy was lost as he did not understand what that was for. Later on, he agreed to help the man plant some trees, and they started doing so. A haiku was planting the tree with the man. The man saw how he was holding the tree, so that prompted the man to ask if that was his first time of planting trees, and he replied that it was. However, when he felt like he couldn't plant the trees very well using his bare hands alone, he then asked the man in the hat if he had any tools he could use, because it feels inefficient doing it with his hands. But the man replied that they cannot use tools, so it won't damage the tree by accident. Therefore, they have to do it with care. The reply made the guy look at the man suspiciously, and also look at the trees on the ground, thinking about when they will be through with planting all of that, as that time was not the right time for him to be doing that. As he wanted to go and pick another tree that he will plant, he saw a black tree which was totally different from other ones, and he decided to carry that one. But the man quickly asked him to put it down, because the tree was said to have been in existence for too long. Moreover, the guy thought that the black tree should be the one that they will plant quickly, since it is old, so it will not rot. But the man quickly coaxed the tree from him, as he saw that the G did not understand what he meant. So he went ahead to plant it, and before they knew it, the man was done with planting all the tree. Thereafter, the man then asked the guy what help he can render to him, since he is done with his own work. The guy was confused on what particularly to ask the man to help him with, as he did not know where he needed to go or how he got to the forest in the forest place. He did not remember anything anymore. Then, the man took his hand and made the guy's palm touch the tree he specially planted for him. It was then that the guy could get the revelation of what happened to him earlier and how he got to the forest. After getting some revelation, the man saw that it seemed that the guy had lived some admirable life before, and he was shown the things that he had cultivated. Meanwhile, the guy actually wanted to know what really happened, but the man thought that he did not need to remember things of the long past again. Yet the guy did not listen to the man, and so he raised to find out. It was then that he saw that he was the one who killed his friend, and it seems that the friend also took revenge, but he wondered how he was reborn again, when he thought that was the end before. The guy felt shameful and regretted ever killing his friend, but the man calmed him down, making him remember how he has also saved countless people, even though he killed his friend. Therefore, the man let the guy know how much he trusted him, as he addressed him as his child. At this rate, the guy was shocked with all the comforting words coming out of the man's mouth, whom he did not know before. Later on, the guy eventually found himself in another place with a man, blindfolded. The guy was still blindfolded, trying to remember who the man might be in the past. Then he remembered seeing a frame of him and his family, whereas the man happened to be his father there. That was when the guy saw that his coming to the forest was even according to plan, but he really wanted to know which are the lies and which are the truth. Then he asked his father about their family, which was left in the dark. He even felt sad for his mother as well. However, the man told him that there were no lies at all, as he explained that in his father, Michael's heart, there was no lie in whatever he did. He told the guy how Michael, his father, had lived with his mother and even the guy more than the guy could ever imagine. The man then offered the guy a drink, as he saw that he was not in a good mood, so he told him to drink it for him to feel better. The guy collected the drink, but asked the man what the drink was meant for before he would drink it, so the man replied that the drink was just like their version of fun. Since the guy was still blindfolded, he could not see the content of the drink, so he decided to drink it, but on taking the first gulp, he threw the bottle away, as he did not even feel any better. He got away and talked rashly at the man. Meanwhile, the guy's goal was to protect his family, both in his past life and his current life, and he wished to achieve that. The guy already hated Michael, his father, because as the man was talking about Michael, addressing him as his father, he quickly corrected the man not to call Michael his father anymore. But the man still continued, letting the guy know that how Michael left everything to him and still left him was too much for a human to endure actually. But when Ro was said to have manifested through the guy was greatly damaged, and therefore his soul was ripped into shreds, whereby, in the process of piecing him back together, various memories flowed into him, which caused him to behave somehow to it, as he remembered them. The guy eventually accepted that the memories of his past life are nothing to him, so he is now fine with it. Then he asked about Michael's whereabouts, as he was the one who puts him in that kind of state, and pretends to die so he can abandon him and his family. When the man saw that the guy already knew everything, he apologized and asked the guy for forgiveness because it was not a lie. Because he, Uriel, was the one who assisted Michael by killing Michael, as he can abandon his family. And that was how Michael went to sleep for eternity. White and Shay were later seen stuck driving the bus, as White could see that they were approaching the wall, whereby he knew that if they could just get past that gate, they might see the university. Just as he said, they approached the university, and Shay could see some people Kitchi tried calling if they answer him, but White, who did not even care, continued driving, and Shay tries to caution him so he won't go and kill those people with the bus. They eventually burst into military men who stopped them on their way. They asked the team to lower the car window down so they could see their faces. They also asked them where they were coming from. As the military man who walked up to their car was asking these questions, they were panicking, as Shay did not even know their faces before. So it was White who replied that they were coming from Zone 1. One of the military that was half bald-headed did not believe them, as he kicked them out of the bus and tied them. So the military man went to meet others, as he discussed Abit, White, and Shay with them, narrating how they had barely caught them sneaking in, as he could detect that one of the guys was a demon and the other seemed to be a Zone 1 slave, which confused the military man on how the Zone 1 slave was okay in the sunlight. Meanwhile, White was angry at the fact that ordinary humans caught him up, and while he was angry, Shay saw that he was planning to kill those military men, but then he knew that White cannot kill people. Just then a young guy among the military men, seeming to be caring at White and Shay, while he was checking if they were fine, he detected that White was a demon with one horn cut off, and he saw that Shay was not a demon. When the half-bald-headed military man saw this young guy, he wanted to stop him, but his power was not enough as the young guy. Whereas the young guy moved closer to Shay, he remembered that the guy's face was familiar, but he could not recollect where he knew the guy from. Before he knew it, the guy already brought out a gun, pointing at White, as he wanted to kill him because he did not want Shay to hang around demons. Before the military man could stop the guy, he already pulled the trigger, and shockingly enough, he shot Shay's hand instead of White. However, it was Shay who intentionally put his hand there, as he did not want White to die, claiming that he is his friend. Even White did not expect that Shay would save his life, because he already thought he would die. The military men were all shocked, as they could not believe their eyes that Shay could catch a bullet with his hand. Meanwhile, what Shay did made the guy realize that Shay was not a human, and that really pained the guy so much. However, Shay was not even remorseful for deceiving the guy, as he did not consider it important enough. All that he kept on saying was that he did not have much time, and that he did not want to fight the guy right then. Immediately, he carried White on his shoulders and decided to leave, but they were stopped by the military men, in which Shay kept warning that he did not want to fight with. Just then, the guy wondered what could be inside the truck. They drove to the place, and before he could run to the truck, they already opened the truck and brought out all the children. But Shay asked them to all put down their guns because he would not allow them to lay their hands on those children. Meanwhile, the young guy, who was a military man, questioned Shay on how possible it was for those demon children not to get burnt in sunlight, and also asked him what he was going to do with the children. Shay did not reply to the guy. Instead, he only let the guy know that the children are hairless to humans, so they should not bother to kill them, rather they should release them. When he said that, the guy did not believe that demons would not harm humans, and even other military men also supported as well. As they talked about how demons do waste lives, one of them did not even believe that those children are actually kids, because if they stole people's lives, they are not considered with their age again, as they might be adults in children's bodies. They all disagree with Shay that the demons must not be allowed to be released into their world. In fact, even if they are kids, they still want to kill them, as they may later grow into harmful beings. Shay still kept on trying to explain things to the military men, that the children are innocent, but none of the military men wants to hear his story again. Shay did not give up. He started pleading with the military men to give the children a chance, all to no avail. Whereas, all the while Shay was begging the military men, White was hearing them, and he got anew to an extent that he changed his form totally, then started using his power, fire, to attack all the military men. Some tried running for their lives, as they could see that he has become a monster, which he agreed, but did not stop killing them. Thereafter, a voice spoke to White, telling him to stop killing them and not committing any sins anymore. Despite that, in the end nothing changes. White eventually stopped killing them as he asked if others would still get in their way again, and the young guy immediately replied that they will leave them, because he already broke their guns. So there's nothing for them to fight him again. Meanwhile, White knew that it is not like the military guys actually want to leave them, but the fact that they cannot just stop them again. After Shay and White had left with the children and truck, the military men were the one cleaning everywhere that was messed up. Actually, the young man followed Shay to the hospital where he was being treated, and it was then that the man realized that the young guy still wants to stop them because he follows them anywhere. So he tried making the young man understand that he is in support of humans, and therefore he would not let anything harmful befall humans. The young guy then replied that earlier when many Yuwo died due to White, no one will understand if he was trying to protect the humans or not. But then she understood what the young guy was trying to say, and he also made the young guy realize that he is fine, even if it was only the young who understood him. Not long after, the doctor finished treating his palm, and he went out to meet White, who already found it meaningless for him to receive treatment because he felt like they did not have much time for that, and they might be delayed. But since he already received the treatment, he then asked Shay to let them go. However, White brought up a discussion about Shay, as he has been noticing the fact that wherever they go, everyone lives White, which is because he is kind to everyone unlike him. And he noticed that especially when those people are humans, then Shay overlooked anything they did to them wrongly. When Shay saw how White had been commending his good deeds, he then appreciated White as well, calling him a good person too. But White already considered Shay as a philanthropist, whereby Shay did not actually expect anything from White. Just that Shay was certain that if White had not met Ares, he would have surely become a fine adult. What Shay said made White tell Shay that he is already over 100 years of age, and Shay saying something like that to him made it look ridiculous to him, so Shay apologized. But White did not see any reason for that anyways. The next morning, the military captain was seen as he just woke up, asking his guys about what happened to the demons, Shay and White, that they said they caught. Surprisingly, one of his military guys replied that he was the one who asked them to let the demons go, and in fact, they were just returning back from sending them off. This shocked the captain, as he could not remember when he said that. The captain did not bother himself too much, as he knew that even if the demons went to Zone 3 or Zone 4, he was quite sure that the military men there would take care of them. So his other guy asked him about the solution to the communication issues they are having with Zone 1. Meanwhile, the patient was surprised that they are still yet to contact Zone 1. Although one of his military guys knew what caused the communication issue was due to a giant flash of light that occurred which made communications with several camps to have been disconnected. Therefore, they suggested that they would have to make a search party, which the captain was fine with. Also, the demon suppression was said to be almost completed, and therefore it is time for them to do things for themselves. As the captain also knew that the demons might be secretly planning to get food or military supplies, and so, if they keep being too considerate, it's likely they won't be left with anything when the war ends. Therefore, he made it known that the likes of demons are not their enemies anymore. All of a sudden, there was a commotion in the sky, and before the military guys would know it, there was already a hole in the sky. It shocked everyone, and immediately, the hole emits out a purple furnace, which surprisingly happened to be Ra's doing, which even Luciel did not imagine that Ra could use that kind of method, and therefore he told the man that was with him, Soret, that they would also be fed to the scales if they act rashly. However, Luciel wanted Lord Dark Lessa to be completely released, which will happen soon, so he told Soret to let them leave the world to her when she arrives. But Soret and the other guy that was there also disagree. Therefore, Luciel asked them to find something else to eat, as he let them know that they can fill their bellies with the head if those arrogant angels who obstruct their way. Soret and the other guy make the move to eat him, but he told them that he was not referring to himself, but other angels. A small youngster by the name of Gabriel was observed calling upon his creator, Lord Ra, and pondering the possibility of what could have happened to his god, who had lost his light. Reinald, another servant of Ra, questioned Gabriel about whether or not what Gabriel had said was in fact the truth, and Gabriel affirmed that what he had said was, in fact, the truth. He explained that the light of Lord Ra had diminished, and as a result, he was unable to see anything. This was demonstrated by the fact that he was able to see, For Reinald to have complete confidence in what Gabriel had to say, Gabriel validated it from Uriel, who possessed eyes that were similar to those of God. Gabriel felt that Uriel ought to be aware of what he was saying, which led him to consider the possibility that Luciel had ultimately prevailed over Ra. Uriel was taken aback when Gabriel brought up Luciel because he explained to them that their fallen brother had gained possession of the chariot that was carrying the balance, and as a result he has been chosen by Lord Ray, which indicates that he has been sacrificed. Uriel, on the other hand, helped Reinald and the others understand that Lord Ro was a sacrifice in order to safeguard their world, despite the fact that this was something that the humans looked down upon. Raviel, on the other hand, stated that Lord Ra has already destroyed a great number of poorly constructed worlds in the past, and as a result it asserted that he would not have been like that if Gabriel and Michael had not contributed to his development. Gabriel became enraged because Raviel had spoken his name, which indicates that Raviel is disrespecting him. However, Raviel confirmed that he is not insulting Gabriel because he was aware that all of them are only servants of God. In reality, the most important thing was that Raviel did not agree that Lord Ray had been chosen. As a result, Gabriel was attempting to convince Raviel of the truth, which is that Lord Ray has been chosen, and that these individuals must not have any doubts about him. Afterwards, when the sun began to rise, Uriel questioned Gabriel about what they ought to pray for at that moment, or what they ought to have faith in, given that Lord Ray had finally passed away. However, Gabriel was unable to supply him with exact answers because everything seemed to be a mystery to them. They were all at a loss as to what they should pray or believe in, and Gabriel was aware that if they were unable to come to a consensus on anything, then it was possible that they would lose their light. Uriel felt sad for Gabriel as he stepped up to him to comfort him and let him know that the world will soon collapse, so that was not the appropriate time for them to cry. Gabriel felt sober as tears rolled down his cheek, and Uriel felt sorry for him as soon as he saw him. During all of this time, Reinald was observing, and he couldn't help but express his curiosity about why they were all behaving like children. He was perplexed by the fact that their deity had recently passed away, and they were unable to decide what to do about it. He anticipated that they would muster up the fortitude to find a solution. However, Gabriel responded to him by saying that they are not like him, despite the fact that he recognized what Reinald was attempting to convey. It is just that the most important thing there was that there were merely servants who obeyed Lord Ra's command, and it appears to be nonsensical for them to rapidly adjust to what took place. However, Reinald remained steadfast in his assertion that he cannot simply allow everything to come to a stop at that point. Therefore, he parted ways with them and went to a location where he was by himself. He questioned Lord Ra about whether or not he had indeed passed away, as his slaves had stated, and he stated that if he had passed away, he would be willing to follow him till he passed away, despite the fact that he acknowledges the fact that they are not as intelligent as he is, and that they are clueless about where they should go and what they should be doing. In anticipation of a response from Lord Ra, he delivered all of this. All of a sudden, there was a disturbance on the land, and to everyone's surprise, Lord Lessa arrived and addressed Reinald. Everybody, including Reinald, was taken aback because he had not anticipated Lessa. Reinald was initially frightened when Lord Lessa asked him what he was doing there. However, Lord Lessa calmed him down by revealing that he was not the person sitting in front of him. Rather, it was the god of darkness. However, Lord Lessa truly heard Reinald's voice, which is why he appeared. After that, Reinald informed him that Lord Ray had in fact passed away. Initially, he anticipated receiving a response. However, he did not receive any. Subsequently, he repeated his question, inquiring about the whereabouts of the god of night or the activities that he had been engaged in. In light of the fact that he was able to perceive that the apostles loved him, the god of night just instructed Reinald to convince them. When Reinald attempted to inquire about the manner in which the god of night was aware of that, the god of night responded that he did not have much time to provide an explanation. As he revealed how Lord Darkless's heart and will are destroying him, one can clearly see a hole that has penetrated through his heart and reached the other side. Lord Darkless's will and heart are destroying him. After Reinald realized that the god of night does not have any spare time, he approached him and asked him to instruct him on what to do. As a result, the god of night advised him to cease the conflict, even if there were more gods. He also helped him realize that people currently live in such a manner, and that he should therefore refrain from engaging in conflict. Reinald came and called her out, letting her know that he had brought the answer that she desired to hear. Gabrielle had already knelt down, but she was still crying at the time. On the other hand, Gabrielle insisted that Reinald should simply assist her by fighting through the conflict alongside her. Gabrielle did not receive any response from Reinald. He suggested that he go. Nevertheless, Reinald inquired of him as to what he was praying for, while Gabrielle reiterated that Lord Ra is a god who made a sacrifice for them, as well as for their family and friends. Eventually, Gabrielle was able to comprehend the magnitude of the things that he had lost, to the point where he no longer had anything to lose. Therefore, he is the same as every other human being. In addition to this, he endeavored to make Gabrielle comprehend the reality that people have been fighting from the beginning of time till the current day, including those who did not believe in the existence of gods. On the contrary, human beings have faith in one another. Despite everything that Reinald had to say, Gabrielle was not persuaded. He continued to claim that they are nothing more than shadows of Lord Ra, and as a result, he and the other servants are distinct from Reinald, which caused them to think in a different way. Reinald, on the other hand, did not accept what Gabrielle had to say since, if what Gabrielle had to say was accurate, then he would have known that Michael would not have spared him of his own free will, and he would not have been born either. During the time that he was still exchanging words with Gabrielle, Remiel entered the middle of their conversation. As was to be expected, he joined forces with Gabrielle to take a harsh stance against Reinald. They all detested Reinald for thinking differently than they did, given that he is a human being. As a result, Remiel came to the conclusion that they would be extremely devoted followers and would accompany Lord Ra wherever he went or whatever he did. After then, Reinald, who had been listening to Remiel the entire time, questioned Remiel why he had not passed away due to the fact that Lord Ra, their god, had passed away. In addition, he was distressed by the fact that, ever since Lord Ra had passed away, Remiel and the other individuals were unable to take any action to safeguard the things that were of great importance to them. This was due to the fact that they were cowards, in contrast to humans who were more courageous than they were. In reality, Reinald anticipated that they would care for Ra's legacy, which was deteriorating into ashes, as well as the scoundrel who was responsible for Ra's death. As a result, he decided to leave them alone if they did not show any interest in the matter that he had stated. In point of fact, Gabrielle inquired as to whether or not he was referring to human beings when he spoke Ra's legacy, and Reinald responded by saying that he meant it, and that he meant that to include the servants as well, for they are all creations of Ra. After hearing what Reinald had to say, Gabrielle became interested in the situation and promised to engage in combat with Reinald, declaring that he would accompany him wherever he went. Remiel was taken aback by Gabrielle's response because he had not anticipated receiving such a smasher from Gabrielle. Raviel, on the other hand, was pleased with Gabrielle's performance. As a result, everyone sat down and Raviel lit a fire, which kept them all warm. This prompted Remiel to recall the life that Lord Ra had led. Just at that moment, Raviel caused Remiel to feel the heat of the fire as it was getting closer to him. He was unable to keep it to himself as he begged Raviel to forgive him. He realized that he had upset him since he was a father, but he had not been following him the entire time. However, the flames turned in the direction of Raviel, which caused Remiel to become enraged. Remiel believed that Reinald intended to kill his father. Reinald just used his leg to drive the fire away from Raviel. However, his father advised him to take a deep breath and calm down. During this time, Reinald inquired with Uriel about the manner in which Lord Ra had actually passed away, as he was unable to comprehend the significance of the balancing carriage. This was the manner in which Uriel explained the balancing carriage, which was that on that universe, there was an infinite number of dimensions and an infinite number of worlds, in addition to an inconceivable amount of energy, so much so that it was believed that the entire universe was connected to one another for some unknown existence in perfect symmetry. As a result, Uriel related how their Lord Ra had given that existence the names balance and equilibrium, because on a smaller scale, it is said that humans go from birth to death. But on a larger scale, it is said that the formation and extinction of worlds, as well as the culmination of endless brightness and eternal darkness, are the two absolute existences that are being weighed. While this was going on, Reinald asserted that he was aware of the fact that Ra places a high value on equilibrium, but he was unable to comprehend the reason behind his decision to weigh himself. Therefore, Uriel said that if the equilibrium was disrupted, things that complement the additional weight were either cancelled out or they may even be born, which is how the cosmos began. This was the way that the universe began. After hearing the account that Uriel told, Reinald came to the realization that it was Lord Ra who had sacrificed his life for that world. With this realization, Reinald believed that it was an excessive amount of a loss for Lord Ra to have given up his life for that world. On the other hand, Uriel stated that the only thing that might possibly be a tribute to Lord Ra is the life of Dark Lessa. This is due to the fact that while it would prevent the collapse of the planet, it would most likely delay Dark Lessa's resurrection. Reinald, on the other hand, was able to determine that Lord Ra might have considered beyond what Uriel thought, according to the weight of light and dark, because he was of the opinion that there must be something else to it, mostly due to the fact that there would be anything that would make the world of light lighter. Uriel was even made to remember by Reinald that Dark Lessa had been starving for millennia, and as a result she would not have quite as much control over the cosmos as she would otherwise. Considering that he also mentioned that the objects that are related with light will need to be made lighter, Remiel stated that the only possible cast for that would be destruction. Since Reinald had already discovered a number of subjects that he was interested in learning, he subsequently requested assistance in locating Luciel. In contrast, White and Shay were seen, and as White was already asleep, White made an effort to rouse him from his slumber by informing him that they had arrived at the location where they were headed, which was Hace. On the other hand, White was curious about what Shay intended to do with a facility such as Hace, which was identified as a college where the most intelligent children from Hexagon Island attended. After that, Dark Lessa suddenly materialized and took Shay on his shoulder before bringing him down from the bus. White, who was unfamiliar with him, attempted to chase after him, but he was unable to catch up with him during his pursuit. In light of this, Dark Lessa and Shay make their way towards the building as they come across a young man whom they have dubbed Curly and who is dying from his hair. During the time that he kicked Curly, Shay was still supported by his shoulder. Shay inquired as to whether or not Curly still remembered him, but Curly said that he was unaware of who Shay was. Exactly at that moment, Shay recalled that Curly is a pair of redheads, which gave him the assurance that they have arrived at the appropriate location. As soon as Lessa discovered that Shay knew him, he was taken aback and inquired about the manner in which Shay was acquainted with Curly. Later, Shay was discovered in the hospital with Curly and White. The nurse had believed that Shay had passed away, so they questioned Curly about what he had done to Shay. However, Curly responded that he had not done anything to Shay. White was the one who gave them the explanation that Shay is not seized, but rather that he is asleep and that it is impossible to rouse him up while he is sleeping. The nurse was perplexed owing to the fact that she was not familiar with such type of slumber. After that, the nurse requested that Curly bring the fumazanol and inject Shay with the liquid. However, when Curly was about to inject Shay, he became aware that Shay is not a human, and as a result, he questioned whether or not the fumazanol would be effective on him. Shay woke up, and everyone was thrilled because they informed him how frightened they were when he did not wake up on time. He summed up his courage and tried it, and it was successful. When this was going on, he also believed that he would never wake up again. As a result, the nurse inquired about Rano and Lexter, and Rano said that Lexter had returned to his family, while he had spoken with Reinald on his way back, which led him to believe that he would return soon. Then, just as Curly was about to tell him what had happened to Lucy, he astonished Curly by saying that he already knew everything. It was at this point when she explained to them that Lucy was exactly the same as him, because she had turned into a shell for Dark Lessa. As Dark Lessa's soul is now residing in Lucy in her whole, Shay is the place where Dark Lessa's will and heart are located. On the other hand, she stated that Dark Lessa chose Lucy as a vehicle to combine 3 elements, despite the fact that Lucy possessed a soul that was more powerful than anybody else and was capable of becoming Dark Lessa's container. Due to the fact that Lucy cannot be a pure white sealing existence, Dark Lessa will consequently fully shatter Lucy and emerge into the world when the 3 powers are brought together. Furthermore, at that same moment, as a result of the magnet-like resonance between the two, it was already drawing out the powers that he possessed. Due to the fact that Shay was even attempting to retain them, he was ultimately unsuccessful in containing the power. If it were to be halted any sooner, then Lucy would transform into Dark Lessa herself. When Curly, who was already terrified by what Shay had explained, asked Shay, whom he does refer to as Lessa, how it could be prevented or what humans could do about it, he was already terrified. Then, Shay responded to him by saying that there is a solution if he is able to assist him. Consequently, he exited the medical facility and approached the truck, and as he opened the truck, he displayed the demon children that were present in the truck. He responded that he merely made the children go asleep because he wanted his sins to be purged, which would need him to go back to the beginning, which is exactly what he is doing. They were left in a state of shock, and the nurse was curious about what Shay had done. Shay requested that Curly, who was actually a physician, reverse the transformation of the demon children into human beings. Fear engulfed Curly from head to toe, and he was completely taken aback. Curly was informed by Shay that the demon children are currently sleeping in his realm, and Shay was confident that if Curly were to perform the same actions that he had performed on him, he would be able to wake up the demon children as well. To be more specific, if the children of the demons were to awaken, they would not be able to enjoy his protection because he is unable to manage such a large number of individual locations. As a result, he told Curly to exercise caution in order to prevent the demon children from being exposed to sunlight and therefore preventing them from becoming burned. Curly did not have faith in himself, so he inquired of Shay whether or not he was capable of actually accomplishing the task. Curly was informed by Shay that he had faith in him since he shared with him the information that he had learnt from Lexter regarding the things that humans are capable of doing that even the gods are unable to perform. The nurse and Curly were observed in the laboratory, where Curly was in the process of combining a number of different substances. In the meantime, the nurse had already given up, believing that it was impossible to achieve the goal because they were not gods, and it had been a considerable amount of time, approximately 2 years, since they had begun their antics. Curly, on the other hand, stated that it had been 5 years since they had become aware of such a thing. Yet, he had attempted to do so because he did not want to admit with his own voice that it is impossible. In addition, the nurse was a demon, and Curly was aware that if they were successful in finding a solution, then she would also be able to transform into a human. This is because she cannot continue to live as a demon for the rest of her life. On the other hand, Curly was perplexed as to how Shay was able to open his eyes while taking a common anti-sedative medication such as flumazenol. The nurse, whose name was Miena, was not startled by this, as she had already placed her trust in Shay. The only thing that surprised her was the fact that he was able to react to the drug, given that he was composed of red blood and his skin was soft. Due to the fact that she cannot stop thinking about how adorable Shay is, Miena was actually having a crush on him. Taking into consideration what Miena had just spoken, Curly expressed his hope that the medications would be effective on the demon offspring. Miena further stated that if the drugs were successful, then the children would undoubtedly be more similar to humans than Shay. Curly was perplexed because Shay had stated that the youngsters were immobilized within his universe. He pondered whether or not Shay had genuinely drugged himself. Then, all of a sudden, he had an epiphany and confirmed with Miena that the reason she prescribed flumazenol for Shay's coma was because she determined that it was a problem with GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that is composed of amino acids. The response that Miena gave was that it is connected to it. She responded by saying that it was due to the fact that flumazenol was the neurotransmitter that was utilized the most in the central nervous systems of mammals. However, Curly questioned why she arrived at such a conclusion given that he is not even a human. Curly, however, was perplexed as to how Miena could be so naive as to believe that Shay was not a mammal but rather a god, and not even a god but all life. He believed that Shay was the source of all existence. This was something that Miena found to be interesting because she had not anticipated that he would speak about such a metaphysical topic, but she was aware of the fact that Curly has never been a fan of her approach, which gave the impression that he had undergone a significant transformation. Nevertheless, Curly stated that he did not commit the crime. Miena's intention was to reprimand him. In light of this, Miena inquired of him whether there was anything that they could accomplish using surgical techniques. In response, he stated that he had discovered the path and that it had already been stopped. However, They are currently searching for a method to restore the power. During the conversation, White and Shay were spotted sitting down together in the corridor of the hospital. White initiated the conversation by inquiring about what would happen to Shay, given that Shay appeared to have achieved his objective. Shay, on the other hand, stated that anytime he sees White, he is continuously reminded of a particular someone, and that somebody is a young child who is pathetic. Shay, on the other hand, was actually referring to White, and White was already aware of this fact. Yet White joked that he is much larger than Shay himself due to the fact that he is older. In addition, Shay did not reach the same conclusion, as he asserted that he was once quite large. White could no longer argue with him because he had come to terms with the fact that he was so small and wretched. However, he was anxious about whether or not Shay would genuinely help him. Shay responded in an honest manner that he did not have the right to condemn White in any way, but that he did have something to tell White about his parents. So he told him that his parents did not forsake him as he believed they did. Rather, it was the opposite, because before they left this world, they gave White a name, which Shay claimed was Charles Frederick Shaw. He stated that this demonstrated that his parents did not abandon him. White was taken aback because he was unaware that Shay had conducted a covert investigation into him. As a result, White asked Shay why he had done so, and Shay said that it was because he owed White money. White was surprised by this information. At that moment, White had the epiphany that Shay was doing all of the things that he was doing for him. Therefore, Shay cautioned him to remember his true name and his humanity, but White was already beginning to feel dissatisfied with the situation. Some individuals were lying down near the water, and a radio was playing in the vicinity of where they were, and a conversation was taking place on the radio, where a man named Mr. Thompson was being questioned by the radio host about whether or not he believed in the presence of God. He responded by saying that a lot of people in the United States do have religion, but he stated that he did not believe in such things. To put it simply, he was aware that if he were asked to explain the splendor of Florida without mentioning God, he would be at a loss for words indeed. He went on to explain that people sometimes attribute things that are beyond their control to a variety of factors, such as uncontrollable feelings of despair and rage, unexpected accidents, and insurmountable realities. These are the reasons that people believe that God exists. After that, he informed the presenter that, if they were interested in learning more about the matter, they should know that the Hexagon Island demon commotion was ultimately caused by humans. While this was going on, the radio host became more interested in the topic at hand and requested that Mr. Thompson provide them with additional information. Therefore, he went on to explain that if there were demons, rather than beings from hell, then he understood that they were demons of the heart, which means that they are unable to control immorality. That being the case, Mr. Thompson stated that if the government were to collapse, it would indicate that the society was already in a vulnerable situation. After that, Mr. Thompson was questioned further about the current situation in the United States of America, since they are interested in determining whether or not an emergency situation of this nature should also occur in that country. As a result, he responded in accordance with his analysis that the physical isolation of Hexagon Island was the factor that made the problem worse. He pointed out that there were no such exceptional circumstances in the United States of America. Reinald was later observed as he managed to raise his head up from where the fractured ground that it was trapped in. He did not even know that he would manage to extract his head alive. Reinald was able to do this. Earlier, he was caught with his head grasped when he was refusing to wear some form of clothing that Uriel had given him. When he eventually freed himself, Uriel approached him and asked him why he had refused to wear the clothes as they were required for him to wear. In addition, Uriel informed him that his name is now Rael, and that it was previously Reinald. He insisted that Rael wear the clothing, but Rael did not agree with him. As a result, he was compelled to wear them. He mandated that he wear anything white, such as white robes or a white crown. But Rael objected, stating that he would rather choose to die than wear them. And just as Uriel was about to tell him to die, if that was what he desired, they suddenly became aware of a foul odor. This caused Uriel to pause, stating that the origin of the odor is on the opposite side of the globe. He then proceeded to say that he would go and look for Luciel and the others, while also requesting that Rael hurry up as well, because they need to stop Luciel. When Reinald, also known as Rael, went to change his shirt, he noticed some red scars on his 2 shoulders. He wondered when all of that had happened to him, but he could not recall anything. Uriel left while Reynold, also known as Rael, went to change his shirt. Suddenly, he became aware of some words that were echoing, and he attempted to remove the cloth that was tied around his eye. Instantaneously, the fabric began to cause him pain. After that, he begins to consider the possibility that the marks he had on his body were the result of Ra's memories and afterimages, given that he did not have any more memories after the point of Aries. Since he was unable to open his left eye, he stepped outside and pondered about everything. He believed that flour was the culprit behind the marks that were drawn on him, and that it was also responsible for rendering one eye unusable. At that very time, he was aware that something was going to happen to his head because, for a little period, he had the sensation that he was able to look inside Ra's skull. He prayed that he would be able to see the person who had done all of that to him as soon as possible. While this was going on, Luciel was observed sitting by himself on the edge of a building and listening to solo music. Suddenly, Reynold had the sensation that something had struck him in the head, which caused him to believe that his brain was going to burst. Then, all of a sudden, a monster appeared in his imagination and asked him what he was seeking for. He responded that he was looking for memories pertaining to Luciel, but the monster told him to return at a later time. Upon regaining consciousness, he found himself perplexed at the events that were transpiring in his body, which led him to speculate that it might have been Ra's memories once more. After that, he moved a chair closer to him and sat down next to him, as he made the decision to return to the location as the voice had instructed him to do. In this way, he returned to his imagination, and he recalled seeing a young kid who he had known in a previous life to be the youngest of Diane's siblings. He was referred to as Barry, because he recalled that Diane was going mad after losing Barry on that particular day. He pondered the possibility of what had occurred to Barry at that time. Despite the fact that he is unable to see, he was aware of the fact that they are unable to bulk up Lessa at this time. This is the reason why he thought Diane to be so ignorant. He knew that Lessa had not done anything to him that was harmful. Despite the fact that Reynold intended to apologize since he was aware that Diane's sister had a misunderstanding of the situation, he has come to the realization that Lessa was not the one who had done something like that. Rather, what had occurred in the past was in Lessa's control. As was to be expected, Luciel was the one who abducted the young kid. He had made a promise to Barry that he would remove him from the darkness so that he would no longer be unable to see with his eyes. On the other hand, the young man inquired about Luciel's identity despite the fact that he had previously gone to meet him. In addition, Luciel revealed to him that he is an angel who is eager to assist him. He also stated that he would present Barry with a gift in recognition of the fact that he had survived a life filled with misery. As a result, the presents consist of 2 eyes that are like gems and will make Barry no longer be in the dark. Additionally, the hair is as red as the raspberries that Barry adores, and the voice is as sweet as the singing of a bird. He made all of these statements in an attempt to seduce the little boy, and Reynold became enraged as a result. Nevertheless, in exchange for everything that he had given the boy, he warned the youngster that in the far future, the boy would be required to return his body to him. He also told the boy that if the boy guaranteed him that, he would be willing to give the boy a new life. On the other hand, the young man shared with Luciel that he wouldn't mind being reborn as a blind person again, if it meant that he could be resurrected as Diane's younger sibling. This was the condition under which he would be content with being reborn. As soon as Reynold learned about all of this, he was filled with rage. Exactly at that moment, Luciel caught sight of him and promptly halted him in his tracks. Due to the fact that Luciel was unable to see very well, he asked Reynold who he was looking for. Luciel offered to assist him because he could see that Reynold was struggling without any assistance. Luciel had already recognized him, as he greeted him by his name Reynold. He was able to observe that Reynold appeared to be the youngest of the apostles, so he allowed him to understand that he is not very cute. Due to the fact that they were outside, the rain started dropping all of a sudden, and it rained on them. When Reynold realized that Luciel was the one who was speaking to him, he started calling him a variety of names. Luciel asked him in jest why he was calling him those names despite the fact that he was trying to make Reynold understand that even the sky is a blessing to their meeting. The wrath that Reynold felt against Luciel was so obvious that he could not conceal it, and he did not even bother to respond to him. He only wanted to get ahead of him and began kicking him, and Luciel returned the beatings as well. However, to everyone's surprise, Reinald was able to give Luciel a kick that caused him to fall to the ground. Raymond was able to give Luciel the beating of his life by opening his mouth wide, grabbing his teeth with the jaw, and dragging him. This was the manner in which Luciel fell down, to the extent that Raymond was able to do so. After that, he smashed him on the shattered floor, which caused Luciel to fall into it and land on a different floor. However, he was still able to communicate with Reinald, and he informed him that when he had made his fist earlier, he had brought to his mind his older brother, of whom he was aware that Reinald was not even close to being on the same level as him. Luciel begged Reinald to stop asking about Lucy everywhere he went because he stated that Reinald's world would still be destroyed regardless of what he did. Reinald was not even interested in what he was asking, but rather he asked him what he had done to Lucy, his younger sister. As a result, he informed Reinald that the topic of his younger sister was not a significant one, stating that he had something more essential to share with him. However, Reinald did not even allow him to finish his sentence before he matched his face with his feet. Reinald made it clear to Luciel that his younger sister is so significant to him that he is willing to sacrifice his life for her. This is because Lucy was so essential to Reinald, and Luciel was aware that Reinald was capable of doing that because that is something that families do, but he found it to be the most revolting thing that could possibly happen. Because Luciel is able to attest to the fact that Reinald has trained so effectively while being a human, he was unable to conceal the fact that Reinald was extremely powerful. Because there is no difference between what he did to Lucy and what Lord Ra did to him, he informed Reinald that Lord Ra is a pervert. This is because there is no difference between the two. However, as he learned that Reinald is a dull individual, he realized that Reinald was unable to make effective use of the power that he had bestowed upon him. He even went so far as to tell him that his younger sister was not like him since he had been seeking someone with a soul that is like to Lessa's, who possesses a high capacity. In all honesty, Luciel anticipated that Reinald would have picked up some knowledge from Ra, as he explained to him that the reason he had a chance encounter with Lessa in his previous life was not because Reinald was exceptional, but rather because he had chosen Barry. Since Raybald had stated that he would give his life for the child, he now requested that Reinald pass away so that he might comprehend how insignificant he is in that universe. The only thing that Reinald was able to glean from what Luciel had to say was that Luciel had been playing with Shear's life at the beginning of things. This caused Reinald to hit Luciel once again, as he had even wanted to murder Luciel. Reinald then used some lightning magic, such as fire, on Luciel, which caused him to draw away from him. And that was how they began to engage in a fierce battle, to the point that Luciel called his purple abilities. Luciel was unable to comprehend that Lord Ra was not very skilled in the creation of monsters, so he also asserted that he is accustomed to dealing with animals. Because of this, he made the decision to punish Reinald. After that, Luciel gave the instruction to the red sword that was with him to plant roots, which is a metaphor for the seed of the emptiness. And all of a sudden, the blade began to transform into a spirit with a great deal of force, breaking into small red signals. As Reinald went backward, he discovered that he was becoming increasingly terrified. Yet, before he knew it, he was already coated in the crimson spirit. Luciel was content with the situation because he was aware that the flowers that flourished in the emptiness were not of this world. He then inquired about Reinald's reaction to it, given that it was the first time he had ever seen it. Despite this, he informed Reinald that he was going to teach him a great deal of information that he was not familiar with. However, Reinald responded by stating that he did not require his instruction because he was not prepared to listen to someone like Luciel. In addition, Luciel stated that he will not take Reinald's viewpoint into consideration because he has realized that personal opinions are not required on the path to discovering the truth. In spite of this, he was able to successfully convince Reinald of one thing: he will neither force him to make a sacrifice or rule him in the same way that Ra had done. While Reinald was being tormented by the spirits, Luciel realized that he required freedom, and he was prepared to provide it to him in the same way that he would grant salvation. After an incident that had recently occurred, a few individuals were seen, and one of them was questioned about the number of people who were able to be saved. This was due to the fact that the individual could recognize approximately 20 to 30 individuals, but he was unable to take any action because the communication with the strategy team had been severed. The remaining survivors were seen to be accompanied by a monster once more, and one of the survivors mustered up the strength to warn the others not to move because they would also become infected in the same way as the monster. In spite of this, if they did not move, they would be forced to give up their valuable lives one after the other. Just then, an elderly woman stood up and confronted the monster with the intention of requesting that the creature take her life rather than bringing shame upon them. Despite the fact that others cried and warned the woman not to go out, she went out anyway, and the monster grabbed her right away. She then slaughtered her and twisted her neck. Then go ahead towards the man that talked earlier, and the man also summoned a little bit of bravery to talk at the monster, that he would not be scared of him because he was fairly convinced that the monster was going to end up being burnt in the fires of hell for eternity. The monster appeared out of nowhere and proceeded to remove the man's eyes and tongue before bringing his hand to his head and causing him to suffer a horrific death. Because of the manner in which the creature was killing everyone became even more terrified. After some time had passed, another guy went forward to confront the monster, but his wife prevented him from doing so. When the man reached that spot, he suddenly became aware of the fact that they were not the individuals that the monster desired. Instead, he pointed upwards, and they saw a helicopter. That is, the people urged someone to get in touch with the individuals who were in the helicopter and to land it as soon as possible. They did not care if the people who landed the chopper were from the police or the FBI. They wanted anything that would save them. It came as a surprise when the helicopter went down, which also had an effect on the creature. At that moment, two young guys unexpectedly emerged fully armed, giving the impression that they wanted to come and defend those people from the monster. Everyone was still eager to find out what would happen next, and it just so happened that the young men were angels, with Sandalphon and Remiel being the names of two of them. The people were overjoyed, and even the children were able to identify them as angels. As a result, Sandalphon and Remiel were able to make the people forget what had occurred on that particular day. Remiel then requested that Sandalphon evacuate those individuals and also guide the souls of those who had passed away. While Remiel made the decision to confront the monster, he was aware that the monster had been responsible for the deaths of a great number of innocent people. As a result, he inquired about the nature of the monster. The monster made an attempt to show him certain things, but the angel was unable to comprehend what he was saying. All he could do was state that he was getting a negative vibe from the monster, as he could sense that the monster's energy was squeezing the air around him. Uriel was using the angel's eyes to see, so he is also in order to discover the nature of the monster. Therefore, he asked Uriel to determine what kind of creature the monster is, and Uriel asked to assist him with knowing what kind of creature it is. After spending some time analyzing the creature, Uriel discovered that there are no records of a life similar to that of the monster since Lord Ray created the planet. This is the case regardless of the methods that he used to hunt for the monster's identity. Despite the fact that Remiel believed that Uriel's spear would preserve every memory of the cosmos, he continued to wonder what the monster could possibly be. He was under the impression that he would be able to determine what the creature appeared to be. However, what was important to Remiel was the fact that the monster was a malevolent creature that needed to be eradicated. Hence, he would ensure that the monster paid the price for its actions. After that, Remiel gave the order for the Spear of Revelation to pierce the monster. Therefore, Remiel attempted to attack the monster with the spear. However, the spear unexpectedly broke in two due to the fact that the aura emanating from the creature was too strong. After then, Remiel made a request to the Spear of Revelation, which is the holy will of the gods, to remove the mask that the monster was wearing and to assist him in distinguishing the monster from the good. In point of fact, he desired the spear so that it could kill the monster. On the other hand, as soon as the spear began to serve its purpose, it became incompatible with the aura of the monster, and it vanished entirely. Despite the fact that Remiel was unable to withstand the aura, he fell to the ground, and Sandalphon ran to him in order to assist him. In an effort to calm Remiel down, he requested that he call forth the spear once more. However, Remiel was hesitant to do so because it was well known that the spear had been responsible for the destruction of worlds, which was something that had never occurred before. After then, Sandalphon divulged to Remiel the information that they are required to destroy their very own white crowns in accordance with the will of Lord Ra. By the way, it is time for them to pay for the mental freedom that they have already acquired. Upon more consideration, Remiel came to the realization that if they were to act in such a manner, they would be unable to engage in genuine communication with the apostles from that point forward. The white crown was the only thing that could bring their minds together, as Remiel was unable to put his faith in those brothers. This was due to the fact that Lord Ro was absent. Sandalphon, on the other hand, made an effort to present Remiel with an explanation about the entire precarious position, because the creature was more powerful than they had anticipated. And even though a great number of humans had also perished, there was no sign of any souls being seen. When Sandalphon finished his sentence, Remiel was curious about what he meant by it. During the time that White Sandalphon was attempting to respond, the monster was getting closer to them. They were pretty surprised because they had no idea when he was getting closer to them.